Bill and Melinda, thank you for being with us today to talk about your 2016 annual letter. You've taken a very different approach with this year's letter. You laid out a vision and your ambitious goals, but this time you write the letter to high school students. So why do you want to or need to enlist them in carrying out these goals?
We targeted 15-year-olds because they're really the ones that need to put the investments in now if we're going to get changes over the next 50 or 30 years, because these are long-term problems that we're talking about with time and energy.
You probably have a more open mind to innovation, a more open mind to change about cultural things or trade-offs to avoid these problems. And so I hope we can engage this audience because they're the ones who can make the change.
So, you know, a lot of what you're aiming at clearly is innovation, right? Change. And I just wondered, how much of a period of innovation do you think we're in this country and the world right now?
Well, I think the pace of innovation is faster today than ever before. History of science people have pointed out that the 1880s with electrification, many things was a time of great change. And so you get periods of very key inventions. But our basic understanding of chemistry and physics, of why certain alloys behave the way they do, why certain catalysts do, we are achieving fundamental knowledge that will change materials science, will change biology. And that's the foundation which allows us to be optimistic that whether it's energy or disease or agricultural productivity, that if we put our mind to it, we can uplift the poorest.
When you see digital money at scale in Kenya and Tanzania and the Philippines, and you see people saving little bits of money a day, and then you talk to them about the profound difference it makes when they go through a drought season or when it's time for the school fees, that innovation is having a huge effect on their lives. Or a seed that's drought resistant or weather resistant if there's a lot of flooding with climate change. That makes a huge difference in what they can eat and what they sell on the market.
What excites you most about what you're seeing so far, and what do you think, what kind of breakthroughs could you imagine in the next 15 years?
Well, I was very happy that at the Paris Summit there was this commitment to double energy R&D, because if you want clean energy solutions, you can supply more innovation and you can demand more of these products. On the demand side, there's been lots of tax credits, some renewable portfolio standards, and many tens of billions of spending on that. While on the supply side innovation, the energy budgets, R&D budgets for the last 15 years did not go up. So now that's changing. What that'll mean is that there are many paths we can explore. Some of them are unexpected paths, like directly converting the sun into fuels, solar fuels. That's a beautiful thing if you can get it, because then you don't have a storage problem. We know how to have metal tanks that have gasoline or pipelines that send that all over the country, which with electricity, that is far, far more difficult. In wind, the intermittency of ground wind makes that tough, but if you go up to the jet stream, very high up, it's virtually constant. And yet the material science it needs to really do that tethering, bringing the power down, we need materials with much greater strength than we have today, carbon fiber type materials that are still way too expensive. And so we're going to push boundaries of lots of different science. Nuclear is a path, either fission or fusion. Lots of companies, including at least one that I'm involved in. And so as we go down these dozens of paths, we need lots of companies in each one, and only a few really need to fully solve the problem and then get deployed so that by 2050 we have a very different energy makeup.
There's more than 1 billion people, right, in the world without electricity and energy. So bringing it to them is going to increase our carbon emissions and increase the strain on the planet, so that we all have to find a way to be more efficient. Of all the photos and the photographs in your annual letter, the one that stunned me the most was that picture of Africa the continent at night, and so much of it was dark. That's just amazing. It's just incredible.
On our first trip to Nigeria, we were driving through Lagos, and it was eerie because the only source of light were where people had taken a metal oil barrel and were burning things in it. And so instead of having headlights or normal lights, it was all fire. And that was just so unfamiliar to us. It was like, wow, this is some strange movie we're in. What's going on here?
There was a sea of darkness beyond that, and yet you knew there were millions of people out there in the slums. So can you imagine what it's like safety-wise if you need to go use the latrine at night to walk out in the darkness in that? I mean, it just, or when I've stayed with a family in Tanzania, the fact that we're doing dishes at 10 at night in the dirt outside under the moonlight, but when it comes time to study, the family had one light. And so the girl finally would get it late at night to be able to study. When we came out of our little hut and my daughter and I had headlamps, it was the first thing the kids wanted us to leave behind was light. The innovation's not going to get you. It's there. It's not the only thing. It helps reduce the amount of unpaid work, but you still have to get that cultural change, and you sometimes have to get policy change, like a really good family leave policy so that men and women can take off time to care for the elderly or for a child when they're born. So it takes all of those levers, recognizing, reducing with innovation, and then redistributing the workload.